giver's gain. I could tell you a million stories like this, but I could also tell you a billion stories where people didn't give and something was taken from them. What's up, Closer Nation? Welcome to another episode of Hardcore Closer, where we enlighten your mind to the possibilities of whatever the fuck, I don't know. But anyway, I just want to thank you for being here. Make sure you give us a 5-star review. I'm gonna give you some game today. We've all heard the phrase giver's gain, but what does that really mean? Like, what's a giver? Is that somebody who gives money? Is that somebody who gives their time? Is that somebody who gives their intelligence? What makes somebody a giver? In my church, we call it being T-rated, which means that you give your time, you go and you volunteer, you help people. There's been studies, 3 types of people that there are really in society as a whole. There's the taker, the trader, and the giver. So the taker is somebody who's always on the hunt for themselves. The traders is somebody that says, yeah, if you give to me, I'll give to you. They're not really a giver. They have an agenda when they give. And then you have a true giver, right? That's somebody who gives without expectation of any reciprocation whatsoever. How do givers gain and why? You see, the mindset of a taker is a curse because they're always in need. Since they're a taker, they've got nothing to give. The taker has a scarcity mindset. What's the root word of scarcity? Scared. What does that mean? Fear. It's a person who's scared that they're not going to be able to contribute or produce, so instead they decide to be a taker with a scarcity mindset. So a trader, what's the trader's mindset? The trader is probably the worst to be of the 3 because then you're always keeping score with everybody. You're living with a scarcity mindset because you're always looking for something in return, but you reward yourself and tell yourself you're a giver, even though a true giver gives without expectation of return. Now let's talk about the giver's mindset. The giver is a person that gives without expectation. If they never call me, if they never show up, if they never do a damn thing for me, that's fine. I'm doing my job by giving to them. I don't expect them to help me out because you know what? The giver has the best mindset because the giver has an abundant mindset. What does that mean? Well, if scarcity means that you're scared and that you're on the take, and abundant means that you always believe you'll get more. You see, the taker believes he won't get more, therefore he has to go take. The giver believes that there's plenty to go around, and therefore we can give it all away because it'll come back to us. It's not that it's just going to magically show, I go spend my bank account, it's going to magically show back up. Oh, look, the bank fairy showed up. That's not how it works. Us givers know that, hey, we can go out and contribute and give because I'm producing enough to be able to get it back. But see, here's where a lot of people make the mistake. They say, well, once I start producing, I'll start giving. To a giver, it doesn't seem like you're gaining. That's like the trick the force of average plays on you because givers gain in small increments over long periods of time. But when you truly become a giver and you just want to see the best in people and you believe, you know what, I can give the gift of game through a podcast like this to you, and you go take action and it becomes a blessing to you, but it doesn't become a curse to me. It becomes an even bigger blessing to me because now I made the world a little bit better place, making sure the things that I do give are the things that the world needs. Financial help, leadership advice, business advice, relationship advice, the things that I live the example of that the world can come get in. But I don't think, hey, I know all this stuff, I should keep it to myself and not give it to anybody. See, that's a scarcity mindset. You know, if you are a salesperson, one of the hardest things that salespeople struggle with is like that opening conversation. It can be really awkward, especially if you're not like a pro, but that pickup line when they're going to talk to a prospect, they're socially awkward and they stammer. It could just be fucking weird. But let me give you some game. What if you could start a conversation with the prospect that they were actually interested in and started asking you questions? Like, what if you could just flip the script on them? We've got these things called pulse cards, and what they do is they look like a credit card, like an Amex card, like a black card, and when you tap somebody's phone with it, it transfers not only your website and contact information to them, it extracts their information and gives it into your system as well. The system's so awesome that when you tap somebody's phone and they pull it up, they look at it and it becomes a conversation starter. So it's no longer that weird awkward silence. It's like, hey, what's going on? How's it going? Like to talk to you about blah blah blah. You hit them with the pulse card. Here's my contact information. They start to ask you questions. Hey man, what is this? That was really cool. Where did you get that? And it allows you to start this bonding and trust moment. We talk about this all the time. People buy from people they know, like, and trust. You get to start that like and trust process because you showed them something cool. So if you don't have one, they're cheaper in business cards, better in business cards. They allow you to control the prospect from contact to close. Just go to mypulsecard.com. No, I'm a giver. I want to give it to you. Why? Because I believe I'll get more. And I don't believe my gift to you is going to debit my account with something that I can't get back. That's how a taker and a matcher thinks. So if you want to succeed in sales, start being a giver. Give the connection. Hey man, if they're good people, I want to connect them. I'm a giver. That's what I do. I one time sat in a room full of a bunch of successful entrepreneurs. I was at Dan Fleischman's event. I won't say which one. And Dan was raising money for charity. And Dan was there and he was raising money for charity. Who wants to donate $100, $1,000, blah, blah, blah. Not a hand there. I thought I'd lead the way. I said, I'll donate $10,000. Let's get started, because that's what givers do. I look around the room. A lot of those people were a lot more successful than I am, according to their story. No one donated, except for one other person who was an Apex person who donated $1,000. And I say that because I look around that room and all those people had an opportunity to solve a problem by giving to a good cause, and they chose not to. First of all, it put me in a rare position, because those guys that were there that were raising money looked at me a little different. I didn't ask them for it. That's not the reason I did it, but all of a sudden I had their respect. Whether I could have given $100 and been the only person in that room that they would have respected at that point. But I say that because donated that money to them and didn't think nothing of it. It wasn't like, hey, I'm gonna need this money back. About 6 months later, one of those people called me and ended up signing up for one of our programs for $60,000. So that $10,000 investment made a $50,000 return through that network. That wasn't the reason why I did it. The reason why I did it was because I understand that they needed money and nobody else was willing to step up and give. So I gave. And you know what happened? I gained because of it. And I could tell you a million stories like this, but I could also tell you a billion stories where people didn't give and something was taken from them. The Lord loves a cheerful giver. So get on the giving side of things, because it's a better way to live, a better way to think. Just because you let it go today and you're having a giver's abundant mindset today doesn't mean it comes back immediately. I told you, months later, guy shows up, joins the program. I never sold him. I never said, hey man, remember that donation I gave you? We're gonna need you over here in Apex. That's not what I did. It just happens. Because they say, man, that's a good motherfucker. He gave to us, didn't everybody give to us, ask us for some shit. That dude gave to us with no strings attached, really cares about our mission. We're gonna align with him. The same thing will happen for you, because givers gave. Rise above.